edition of India Business Report. I'm Supriya Menon in Mumbai. India's economy may be doing better than expected, but there are still dark spots on the horizon. We take a look at where the country's industrial output is heading to see if things are brightening up. Coming up in this week's show.
Powerhouse or powering down? India's companies have been hit by the global economic crisis. I've been finding out if the worst is over and whether India's companies are ready to expand.
Time to buy. Why is India now becoming a hot destination for takeovers and mergers?
India represents an unparalleled opportunity in history for investments.
The early bird. Why it might be best not to wait when doing business in India.
It's an emerging market. That is the time you have to come here. But if you come, everything is ready, and if you come here, maybe your competitors are already here. You'll miss the train.
The fishing industry in India is now in troubled waters. With the closure of hundreds of processing factories and fish farms, skilled workers are being forced to migrate looking for work. So how is the seafood industry coping with the downturn? I'll be finding out from the eastern Indian state of Odisha. Industrial production has been a blot on India's economic copybook in recent months. Hurt by a drop in demand, many Indian firms have cut back on output, laid off staff and hunkered down for tough times. But despite these problems, there are signs of recovery. Ben Richardson has been finding out if the slowdown is over and if Indian firms are in a better state now than they were before.
Dust and the smell of spices fill the air. On the outskirts of Mumbai, seeds of profit are being sorted and graded. G.R.Singh has been in the business for 25 odd years and took over from his father. The economic crisis has dented demand, but he's optimistic about the impact of the slowdown. It will give him time to reorganize the company and fill the books with orders from other markets.
Nobody loves slowdown. So we are not comfortable with the situation right now. But we are trying to use this time in different way, consolidating our business and all, upgrading little bit technologies and all.
At the factory of tractor maker Mahindra, you get a whiff of success mixed in with the fresh paint and axle grease. The company's been expanding and is well on the way to becoming the biggest in its field. And while it's also seen a drop in some export markets, domestic sales have remained strong. As a result, the nuts and bolts of the business are in good shape, and Mahindra is investing in new products and production. And after a lull at the end of last year, tractors are again rolling off the production line at full speed.
In terms of industrial production, yes, there has been a slowdown in the last 3 or 4 months. But if you notice the kind of figures we're getting for capital investments, they are reasonably buoyant. So therefore, I think that that bodes fairly well for the future because capacities are being created. There's investments that are being made.
India's in an enviable position. Domestic demand is strong enough so that even if exports of products like this decline, then companies still have a steady stream of profits on which they can rely. Now, it's true, industrial production has declined, but people here aren't worried. They see it as a blip rather than a long-term trend. And if you talk to companies, they say that the breathing space the slowdown has given them could actually turn them into world beaters in the long term. India's economy has been rumbling ahead for a number of years now. At Mumbai's main spice market, deliveries have hardly slowed. And while India's way of doing things may not always seem the most efficient, it's proved very effective. Industrial production is expected to pick up again in the next 2 or 3 months, making the slowdown less of a burden for companies to bear. And when you're faced with a long, hard haul to economic prosperity, a little bit of a breather is not always a bad thing.
Ben Richardson there in Mumbai. The proposed Bharti MTN deal would be the biggest cross-border transaction in Indian corporate history. While it may not come off, the $29 billion tie-up has put the focus back on the mergers and acquisitions market. After months of inactivity, people are now asking if the gates are open for more such deals and if India is hot property once again. I caught